Let's talk now about what happened in the Old Bailey court yesterday, which was the sentencing of Tommy Robinson. Alan's in Basildon. Does he speak for you, Alan? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Nice to speak to you again since he got jailed last year.
Yes.
He does speak for me, and he speaks for millions of people across this country.
Doubt that, my friend.
You doubt that?
Why did he finish 8th out of 11 in the European elections if he speaks for millions?
You had Nigel Farage's Brexit party.
Well, no, okay. Well, that takes top. Okay, we'll give Nigel Farage number 1. Why does he come 8th?
I can't answer that.
Well, I can because I fear that he is racist, but I know that he espouses a lot of racist views.
Nick, you know he's not a Nazi. You know he's not a fascist.
I didn't say he was a Nazi. I didn't say he was a Nazi.
Pardon?
I didn't say he was a Nazi, but he espouses and puts forward some racist views, and he broke the law, so he had to go to jail.
Nick, you're a former journalist. Katie Hopkins. She was.
I'm a former journalist, am I? Okay, right. So I there we are. I thought I was still doing it.
You.
No, you can't insult me. I've been insulted by far better.
I didn't intend to insult you. I mean, your former colleague, Katie Hopkins,
yes,
put her head above the parapet. She was down there yesterday reporting. Where was you? And Gerard Batten was there, apparently.
Where was I?
Where was you? Yes.
So I can only comment on stories that I actually physically attend. Well, how am I going to talk about tensions in the Gulf, then? Have I got to go to Iran?
No, if this is so important to you, why don't you go down there and meet some of the supporters? He's put his life on the line for us.
Right.
You know,
he's broken the law, Alan.
He's stepping out on the landing this morning.
Alan,
not knowing whether he's going to be alive this evening.
Alan, he's broken the law. He almost prejudiced a trial to the point that someone who was convicted would have had another trial, could have been cleared, to that level. So before you hail him as a hero, study what happened at Leeds. The man was subsequently convicted. Had it been called off, had there been a fresh trial, he might never have been convicted. So before you see him as a hero, he contributed to one of them possibly walking free. Think on that.
The person at Leeds was convicted of what? Him and the other.
Sex grooming. Sex grooming.
Yes. And he's exposing that. These are actually.
No. He's not exposing it. The police are exposing it, who arrest them. The Crown Prosecution Service, who then charge them, and the courts, who then convict, and the judges or magistrates or whatever it might be, who then sentence. His interfering, which is illegal, which is in contempt, nearly halted the trial and would have led to a retrial, could have actually contributed to the man getting off. What do you say now?
The police are getting involved, and the Labour Party and the Tory Party are getting involved, albeit 30 years too late. These girls have been raped and tortured for years now.
And that is wholly wrong, and the police are doing what they can, and they have arrived too late, and there have been instances where the police have almost, it seemed, been partly culpable, but you don't solve that, Alan, much as I respect your view, by breaking the law. Okay, thank you, Alan. Have yourself a good weekend. So, Helen's in Watford. Helen, does he speak for you, Mr. Robinson? Good morning.
Hi, Nick. Yes, he does.
Ah.
And I just wanted to point out that he got the most votes any independent has ever had, and that's taking into account.
That is absurd. That is absolute. You missed a career as a spin doctor, unless you are a spin doctor, Helen. That is extraordinary. He came 8th out of 11.
That's taking into account that he's been deplatformed from social media. And
yeah, wonder why that might be.
The Post refused to deliver any of his leaflets. So
yes.
I think his vote would have been a lot more had he had that platform that every other candidate had.
And had he not espoused racist ideas, he might have done even better, but unfortunately he does.
Well, I don't think he is racist. He's talking about Islam, not Muslims.
Right.
And we do have a problem with Islam growing all over Europe. And
hang on.
every Western country.
Hold on, I just need to check you there. We have a problem with certain way people perform as regards Islam. You can't have a problem with a faith growing, can you? It's the way people interpret.
It's the way people interpret. Water. Their beliefs are completely polar opposite to ours.
No,
and when
they're not.
you try and push two cultures together, you do get people. You do get a clash of cultures, and that's what we're seeing in Europe now.
Okay. Have you been to a mosque?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Have you studied in any way, and I'm not pretending I've studied in depth, but have you studied in any way, shape or form the origins of Islam?
A little bit, yes.
A little bit. Then you know, and it has been misinterpreted, absolutely right, but you know at its core, at its essence, it is a religion of peace. At its core. It's been misinterpreted by some, I grant you, but you'll know that.
I wouldn't call it a religion of peace. not from what we've been seeing worldwide. And what happens when Islam moves into a country, it seeks to dominate, and that's what you see in every country it moves into.
How is it seeking to dominate the United Kingdom?
Well, that putting up mosques is a sign of dominance. Praying in the streets is a sign of dominance.
Why is praying in a street? How is it dominant to pray in a street? It's observant
to the culture of our country. They are putting themselves out. You know, it's
but you could say the same. Could you not say the same of Jewish people who put up synagogues and wear certain?
They don't pray in the streets and insist on having halal.
Well, no, it's called kosher.
They don't the same way.
But they do, Helen, instead of halal, just substitute kosher for the word halal, substitute the word synagogues for mosques.
We're seeing now halal in all our hospitals, in all our restaurants. We never had that with the Jewish and the kosher. Muslim is much more, and they insist on covering their faces. Doctors get sacked if they ask them to remove their veils. It's much more imposing.
That's ridiculous, and that's the fault of the NHS, I would argue. It's not the fault of the Muslims or people who follow Islam who do that. Helen, I've enjoyed our conversation. I'd ask you perhaps to reflect on some of your views. I can't bear halal food, but Jewish people are okay. Well, they call it kosher. I can't bear mosques, but Jewish people call it synagogues, and that's really what Britain is about, a tolerance, isn't it? We'll have more on that.
For the Rebel.Media, I'm Ezra Levant, standing outside the Old Bailey in London. I am here once again. I've probably been to London almost 10 times now, covering Tommy Robinson's various travails. It all stemmed from a year and a half ago when he was outside the Leeds County Court reporting on a rape gang trial that had systematically raped girls as young as 11. Tommy was there on Judgment Day. The trial was over. The verdict was about to be rendered. Tommy was live streaming from outside the court when suddenly he was arrested by an enormous squad of police, and within hours he himself was found in contempt, shipped off to prison, where he was shortly thereafter put in solitary confinement for 10 weeks. That was finally overturned by the Court of Appeal, but he was tried again. Last week he was convicted again, or found in contempt, to use the more proper legal phrasing, and today he'll be sentenced. I'm worried that he will be sentenced for a grave sentence. I'm worried that the judges will throw the book at him because I do not think that this is a legitimate legal prosecution. I've studied British contempt of court cases going back many years, and I cannot find a case that has been as prosecuted as obsessively as this. The tradition in British contempt of court cases, if the dozens of cases I've read are any guide, is that the judges want the contemner, that's the person who's done something wrong, to simply remedy their conduct, take down a publication, stop doing a certain thing. It's trying to bring people into compliance. It's not a punitive, aggressive, hunter-killer kind of law. In fact, the only other recent case of someone being jailed for contempt of court was George Galloway's former assistant, Aisha Ali Khan, who was only jailed, and for a brief period of time, after she defied 2 court orders 26 times. Only in that extreme case was she jailed, and just briefly. Here, Tommy, who was a journalist, just doing journalism, has been to court, 5-10 times? Has spent over £100,000, surely, much more than that, in legal fees. And they want to put him away in prison, and in prison in solitary confinement. This is unheard of, and it cannot be called legal. It is a political prosecution, and I am sorry to say the United Kingdom is not free anymore. It's partly free, it's largely free, it's mostly free. But when the state has decided that someone is an enemy, they'll do whatever they have to do to put him away. And I'm worried that Tommy Robinson may well be murdered in prison. Many of the UK prisons are dominated by Muslim gangs who have sworn to kill Tommy. In fact, that's why the governor of one of the prisons stashed him in solitary confinement, a small box, for 23 and a half hours a day, ostensibly for his own protection. If we had heard that a citizen journalist in Russia or Venezuela or Iran had been tried, 10 times for the crime of journalism and had been thrown in prison in solitary confinement, we would rightly call that a political prisoner. Well, that's what's happening here in the UK. I don't know if you can see behind me, a fairly large crowd has gathered. It's only 8:34 here in the morning in the UK. I should tell you, I notice a few differences. First of all, this is a very serious fence that's being erected here. There's a young cop who's screwing these plastic ties here. These weren't here last time. People are not allowed on this part of the street. It's clear to me that the police are expecting a very rambunctious crowd when the sentence comes down. These plastic tabs obviously are designed to make sure these metal fences stay together in case they're pushed. I see an enormous number of police, and I see police with video cameras. I see police with a different kind of headgear. They look like a counter-riot squad. Frankly, I'm not surprised. I think enough Brits have come to see this as a political prosecution and see the police as political actors, not neutral enforcers of the law. These police have body armor, riot batons, in a manner that was not evident last time. I've been to every one of Tommy Robinson's court cases in the last year, and I have never seen that kind of visible presence of a riot squad. I think they're ready to crack some skulls today. Of course, the police would love to crack Tommy's skull. They wouldn't be able to get away with that. They'll throw him into the general population of the prison to take care of that. But I have to say, I predict there's going to be rough times on the street outside the Old Bailey today. I wanted to tell you one flicker of hope in this desolate report, and that was yesterday. I came into London a day early because it's so ironic, it's so hypocritical. Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary of the UK, is sponsoring a media freedom conference along with his Canadian counterpart named Chrystia Freeland. It's a laugh. Both of them are censors. Both have cracked down on press freedom. But what timing that Tommy Robinson's sentence today for public journalism is the exact day when this media freedom conference is sitting. By the way, I was at that conference yesterday. You can see all my reports there if you're curious at mediafreedomconference.com. But I want to tell you a flicker of hope. I met someone yesterday I did not know existed. His name is David Kay, and he's the UN Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Opinion and Expression. That's a very long title. I didn't know there was such a thing. He's basically hired by the United Nations to go around the world promoting freedom of expression. No wonder I haven't heard about him. He's not the emphasis of the UN. More, they emphasize cracking down on free speech. But I asked him about Tommy Robinson. I put a question to him. He said he wasn't well briefed in Tommy's case. I think he had heard of him, but he was not up to speed with the details. But he specifically said to me that if Tommy Robinson or a representative of Tommy Robinson were to bring to this UN Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Opinion and Expression Tommy's information and Tommy's case, he would look into it and perhaps investigate. And that's what these UN Special Rapporteurs do. They inspect problems amongst the 200 or so member states of the UN. So perhaps David Kay, the ambassador, would take up Tommy's case. I don't think that would stop the UK. I think they regard Tommy as an enemy of the state, and they'll do whatever it takes to shut him up. What I don't know is how they're going to shut up hundreds of people who are already gathered here and the many thousands more who can't be here, and indeed, I dare say, the millions around the world who have started to focus on Tommy's case. I'll be in the courtroom for the sentencing hearing. I don't expect it to be a very long hearing today. It might be over as soon as half an hour. It might be a couple hours. I'll have reports throughout the court. I'll be live tweeting at my Twitter account, which is simply twitter.com/Ezra Levant. I'll have these videos up on our special page called realreporters.uk, and I'll try and come out during breaks to give other video updates. On behalf of the rebels all around the world, keep watching and go to realreporters.uk. Unfortunately, I'm back in London for another Tommy Robinson hearing. This time it's his sentencing hearing. There are a gaggle of hostile British media here who will be jubilant. I'll do my best to tell you the truth. If you can help cover the costs of my travel to come over here, I'd be most grateful. Please go to realreporters.uk where you can see all my videos on the subject and help chip in.